So, so I went spearfishing this weekend, right? Unrelated to the video. And I don't know how well you can see this, but I jabbed myself with the knife, you know, which you have a knife on you to finish off the fish or to cut yourself free from something when you're underwater, because this could be dangerous, right? But anyways, this knife went in super deep. Oh, it hurts, huh? So I'm trying to, anyways, let's jump into the video, huh? So last week I did this piece, this beautiful woodworked piece, and it's basically wood with an acrylic pour, then resin on top. There's glitter in the black part of the eyes. And here's the thing, when you do an acrylic pour, there is, or you put silicone lubricant, right? Or you can put a few other things, but silicone lubricant usually works the best. And that's what creates these cells, right? All these parts where the paint separates, basically. Okay, so it's cool. And what you're supposed to do is wait for the paint to dry, and then you remove it before you seal the piece. And I waited 2 days for the paint to dry, and I tested it with a baby wipe just to be like, oh, you know, how much paint comes up when I wipe with a baby wipe? Very little. And so then I said, it's dry enough to remove the silicone. So I sprayed it with some Windex, which is great to remove the silicone. I wiped it, and I thought I removed it. And not only that, I took the piece outside, I varnished it, so it should have sealed it and made it okay to accept the resin. But all of these little things, you know, I don't know how well you can see, all of these areas, like here, like down and there, whatever, the reason that the resin doesn't look perfect is because it was interacting with the silicone. So, okay, we're gonna attempt to fix it, right? And I may screw up the piece right now, and for sure that this is the correct fix, but it's hit or miss, right? And so what I've got right here is some 80 grit sandpaper, and I'm just gonna open this up. And what we're going to do is we are going to sand this piece. Now, you're saying, sand this piece? Oof. Well, when we sand this piece, it does a few things. Number one, it creates a texture on top of the resin to accept new resin. And that's the idea, right? We are going to sand this piece so that we can apply another coat of resin. The only danger of screwing this up this piece is all the places where it has these like, I don't know, these parts where it didn't create a flat, perfect surface. All of these parts, it's slightly raised off the paint. So I'm not trying to go too deep. And of course here, this is glitter, huh? In fact, in the eye up here, or in the eyebrow, there's different places where I'm gonna have to sand where the glitter is. And the glitter is closer because it's raised above where the paint is, right? Because it dried more bulk. So yeah, let's see. I don't know. I hope I don't ruin this piece. But either way, this is the fix. If this happens to you, this is how you fix it. Now, again, it's not guaranteed. I don't take any responsibility. You do this to one of your resin pieces and you screw up the piece, you sand too much. Because of course, if I'm just sanding the resin and I don't touch the paint, it's fine. But if I sand the paint, that's not fixable, huh? You're going to affect your painting, etc. So again, do this with caution, but it is the correct fix. So I'm going to open this puppy up, and we are going to cut one of these sheets. And here we go. Put it off to the side. And we're gonna cut one of these sheets. And when we cut one of these sheets, I'm just gonna go over this slightly. And the goal is to go over of course, the whole thing, huh? Because if you just pour resin into places where there's an issue, you are going to see the difference between the earlier resin and the later resin. It's not like it's a colored line, for example. It's it's a clear line, but you'll notice it because the sun will hit it and it will look almost like a facet on a gem, right? I mean, not as nice, but okay. So we're just gonna cut off like a strip. We don't need to use the whole paper, just whatever's gonna fit in our hand. Of course, could you use an orbital sander, right? I have a handheld sander that you can plug in. My fear is it will take off too much, so I would not, huh? But it's up to you. Can you pass me the vacuum assistante? So I'm just gonna go over this piece, creating grit. And what you're gonna see is this is going to get dulled up, right? I'm bringing this here because of course I always do this stuff on my coffee table, creates a mess, and we don't have to do this after every second. I'm gonna save it to the end and then I'll go over it. But I don't know how well you can see that, but now it's scuffed up, right? But don't worry, because when we finish this and we add another coat of resin, that will fix the scuffed up part. All right, so this part is actually nice. It may end up being perfect. And so what I'm going to do right now, so of course I'm going to do this on camera with you, but I'm going to speed it up. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to sand this whole piece. We'll add some audio right now, right? So again, my biggest fear is where the glitter is, because the glitter is so close to the surface. If we scuff it up, I hope that doesn't happen. That may screw up the piece. Let's get back to this. So we've sanded it, right? And right here I've got alcohol. Obviously you could wipe this down with whatever. I'm going to use alcohol. And the reason I'm going to use alcohol is because alcohol dries really fast, whereas water takes more time. And it's not that it does anything other than dry faster. And so I'm just gonna wipe this piece down. And as I wipe this piece down, I don't know if you noticed, but like I was moving my head around, not because I was dancing or something, but what I was doing is, obviously I have lights on me for the video. And what I'm looking at, I'm trying to see is like, did I get everywhere I needed to get, right? Because these spots that look off when the light hits it at a certain angle. At certain angles, it looks fine, huh? Even with the issues, whatever. So again, and in all honesty, what I probably should have done is definitely put on a mask, right? You're sanding resin, those little bits are definitely harmful. And yeah, why I didn't use one right now, I'm tired. That's not a good excuse, huh? But definitely, if you're doing this, please use a mask. That will protect you from the particulates that come off of the resin. And yeah, so I'm gonna move this off to the side, and just to see if I protect this tarp, I'm just gonna put some of the alcohol there. And I'm going to wipe this down. Now we're gonna do a couple things, right? So I sanded this piece. What's the next step? We could just we could skip a step, and I guess it really depends, right? But in hopes, and you know, this all kinds of paint on this. I replace these after X amount of, you know, when they just get too messed up. In fact, this has resin on it, which you could peel off depending on the quality of the tarp. Like for example, I'm just gonna peel this piece up right here. And you could toss it, right? Throw it in the trash, put it off the side. I have stuff on the trash can right now. But what we're going to do, instead of just doing the resin step, and let me show this to you in the camera, right? When I show this to you, it is super scuffed up, right? Clearly it doesn't look nice at the moment. But let's hit it with another coat of varnish, right? Now, okay, here's the other thing. If you've never tested your varnish with your the resin you use, because again, there's tons of different varnishes, there's tons of different resins. If you haven't tested them and to know that they work together, oof, right? So one thing that we're going to do is we're just going to do a small area with the resin, with the varnish, just to see how it reacts, if it's okay, whatever. And then we will varnish this whole area, and then we will add another coat of resin. We'll be right back. Let me grab the varnish, and we're gonna paint on a little small patch. If it looks okay, then we'll do the whole thing. Boom. So I have a matte acrylic varnish. The resin is going to be glossy. So it doesn't matter. You can use glossy, matte, satin, whatever, because the resin is what's gonna make this glossy, right? But that's okay. We're gonna take this, we're just gonna take a small amount. I have a brush here, and we are just gonna put a little bit right there. Let's see what happens, right? So I'm gonna paint this on. Is it acting silly? In fact, it's also gonna make the scuffiness look less scuffy. Is that a word? Anyways, so nothing special here. I'm just gonna actually put it on the piece, huh? Like this. We're gonna grab this coaster, and the only reason I grab the coaster in case I go off the sides and we don't want it to this to stick to the tarp. So let's go over here. Maybe we put enough varnish, and it doesn't have to be, you're not looking for a massively thick coat. What I'm trying to do here is seal it before we add the resin, just in case, you know, maybe there's some leftover silicone that wants to be a jerk, you know what I mean? And it's definitely looking nicer, right? Now, obviously, we're gonna have to let this dry before we add the resin, right? And what I'm doing here is I'm gonna take some paper towels. I'm gonna take some of this, it seems I put too much varnish, huh? So I'm gonna spring my brush there, try to pick up excess varnish, and I'm looking for a thin coat. You see how right here there's white? You don't wanna see that excess resin. Now, if it looks cloudy, I suppose that's okay, right? Because remember, this is going to dry clear, but when you put it on, it is white, right? Or cream, yeah, white, I guess, like a, not cloudy, but anyway. So what we're doing is we're trying to take off the excess right now. And anyway, you could even go like that with the paper towel. So then we're going to go over this whole piece, and it still looks, it doesn't look as scuffed, but it still has some scuff to it, right? Just letting you know, so when you're doing this, don't freak out. Don't try to make it look super perfect with this pass of varnish. What we're doing is we're just trying to seal everything, and then we're gonna add the resin next. So, looks good. We're gonna let this puppy dry, and then we're gonna come back. I'm gonna show you how to do the math for the resin. I mean, I used to use art resin when I lived in the US, or even when I lived here for a while, I used it. But the problem is they took it off of Amazon over here, and now you have to order from the UK. And after Brexit, you get hit with all these taxes. It's so expensive. I need to find another brand. This other brand that I'm trying out, it's not the first time I used it, but it's the first time I use it on a piece like this. This other brand that I'm trying out is 1 part is 100 parts to 60 parts. So you have to be able to do fractional math to figure it out. I'll show you how to do that. Anyways, we'll be back when this dries. I will do the math, show you, we'll weigh out the resin, we'll pour it, and let's see, hopefully, it doesn't look like we screwed up the piece. Like, for example, if when I was sanding, we got into the glitter, for example, or the paint, you would see issues, huh? Now, I didn't go as deep as I could have gone with the sanding. So this, when we do this, there may still be an issue here and there afterward. But let's see. I wanted to err on the side of caution because in the end, if there's like a little issue right here and the rest looks great, I'll leave it, huh? Because art comes with issues, comes with mistakes. But there are too many mistakes on here. Plus, I thought it'd be a cool video because a lot of people maybe don't know how to do this, etc. So anyways, we'll be back when this dries. Yo, so we're back. It's been, I don't know, 6-8 hours. The piece is here. It feels dry. I don't have patience. I think it's gonna be all right, huh? Knock on wood. And when I look at it, it looks very matte on the top, all over. It doesn't look off anywhere. So for sure, there's still some scratches. It's a little matte. It doesn't look that bad, huh? But, and maybe if we varnish it, we could have left it there, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna hit it with more resin. But what I think we should do here on the back is, again, add tape. And the reason that we're adding tape is so that otherwise there will be these bubble drips on the edge, yeah? So we're gonna add tape so we can remove it easily and have a cleaner edge. So let's do that. So we just finished taping the back, and you'll notice I didn't even use the cutting board this time. And the reason I wanted to experiment, see if this was a bit different doing it this way. And then towards the end, I noticed that if I pulled on the tape a little bit and I cut it better, but it's not that clean. But I don't know, maybe it won't matter when we take it off, and I want to compare how it was when using the cutting board, because that wasn't perfect either. So let's drop down something to raise this up. Doesn't have to be a coaster. The point is when it starts to drip, it's not touching this mat otherwise, because anyways, last time, this coaster, you could see right here, it got resin and I had to cut it off, whatever. So something to keep it away from the mat, and after, you know, this tarp is going to be used for X amount of times, and then it just until it starts ripping apart, which is when I take the resin off or there's too much paint or something, then we replace it. Those carabiners are for my spearfishing. Anyways, we have a cup here that we're going to use to mix the resin. It's disposable, meaning I could throw it away. Well, and I understand it's plastic, but it's... Anyway, so I'm going to turn this puppy on, and let me talk about the math, right? The resin that I have is 100 parts A and 60 parts B. So how do you figure out how much is one or the other? I decided that I want 150 grams of resin. When I initially did it, it was 226 grams of resin. Too much, because I measured this by 38 centimeter by 38 centimeter, and obviously, where's the wood there? Where's the wood there? There's not, right? So I thought, hey, do 150. Because anyway, there's already resin on here, and when I put, we're just gonna try to smooth it out, right? So I don't know how well you can see this. We'll do this with this camera. I said 100 over 160. Why did I say 160? Why did I say 100? 100 is part A. We're trying to find out what part A is. So we want part A is 100 parts. Out of what? Out of 160 parts. Because remember, part A is 100, part B is 60 parts. So you add those together and that's 160. So we're trying to find out what part A is, 100, over 160, which is the total of the two combined. So we don't know what that is. That's X, right? So 100 of 160 is equal to X over how many grams of resin are we looking for? And I'm looking for 150 grams. So we put 150 grams there. Then you multiply X times 160, and 160X is equal to 150 times 100, which is equal to 15,000. You then divide 15,000 by 160 and you get 93.75 grams. So that's how much you have of part A. Next, you can take that number, 93.75, which was the result of that, and times it by 0.60, because 60 is 60% of that 150, right? So, and we got 56.25. We can verify that by adding 93.75 plus 56.25 equals 150 grams, exactly what we're looking for. So part A, 93.75, part B, 56.25. Are we going to get it exact? I don't know, these are big containers, probably not, but we're gonna move this out of the way. Just gonna grab this cup. I have this, this is silicone, so resin doesn't stick to it. Well, it's easy to clean off by using alcohol, etc. So I'm gonna put this right here. This is what we're gonna use to mix in the cup. We're gonna grab the cup, we're gonna turn this on. We're gonna make sure it's set to grams, which is the G right there, G unit. Anyway, so we'll drop this on, and when I press this button right here, it tears it, right? I'm gonna move it a bit, tear it again. And now this is part B, so let's grab part A first. So part A, again, using the math, 93.75 grams. If it becomes 94 or whatever, it is what it is, 95, we're gonna try to get close, but obviously, for sure, we're not gonna hit 93.75. Anyway, so let's pour. Oh, shit. All right. So it says 94 grams on the on the scale, 93, 94, it keeps switching between the two. So this doesn't show fractional percentages, so or decimal point places. So yeah, that's cool. I better remember to hit this with some alcohol. I mean, wiping this or whatever, and then not using alcohol is still gonna be sticky later, right? So I'm gonna clean it right now, just with a paper towel. Later I'll add some alcohol with a paper towel to fully clean it. All right, we're gonna put this cap back on. I'm gonna press tear again to set the scale to 0, and now we're going to 56.25, right? Or 57, whatever. I'll take this one. Presumably this is the hardener. The other one is the resin, huh? Take this, 56 to 57. A bit more, huh? 58, so like a gram over. I don't think when it's that little, it's that big of a deal. We didn't get any on the side of the bottle, which is nice. And this one is a bit more liquidy, right? Than the other one. The other one is definitely thicker. Anyway, so now we're going to remove this from the scale. We're going to turn the scale off by holding this down. Well, come on, baby. Why aren't you turning off, huh? There we go. Let's move this to the side real far away. We're gonna take our cup now, and we are going to stir. The more vicious you stir, the crazier, the stronger, etc., the more bubbles you're gonna introduce into this resin. And obviously, we have a blowtorch right here to remove the bubbles, but I think the most important thing to do is scrape the sides, scrape the bottom, make sure it really mixes up, huh? And then, of course, with this, I could just go like this. Is this the best? I don't know. I'm not that worried about bubbles because we're pouring it very thin. If this was going to be a thicker project, I do have a pressure, what is it called, a vacuum chamber. And what I could do is put this in the vacuum chamber to remove all the air, which would then remove all the bubbles. But for something like this, I don't think it's necessary. So we're wiping the sides, we're moving around on the bottom. There. And I'm gonna stir this for a little bit, make sure it's fully incorporated. The thing is, both part A and part B are transparent, or clear. So it's not like they change color. Like for example, sometimes when you mix silicone rubber, the silicone rubber, one part will be one color, another part, and then when you mix it, you could tell that it's really homogenized. But this, you cannot. So For example, if you don't stir this and mix it really well, when you apply it to your piece, then it will dry sticky or something will be off, right? And again, maybe this is the fix, or this is the fix, huh? If you ever do it where you pour some resin and it's sticky, you just add another coat of resin. All right. So I think we're almost there where I'm planning to mix it to. I'm just going to scrape the sides one more time. And this spatula, like I said, is made of silicone, so it bends. And so when I'm pressing down there, it's getting in all the creases and whatever. So this thing is super helpful, useful, whatever. I'm going to put this right here. I do have a set of gloves right here, so nitrile gloves. And I'm going to put them on. Obviously, resin is toxic, yo. I should be wearing a mask. Make sure you have a door open. We're only going to be working with it for a second on video, but you should wear a mask, huh? Something that could protect you from the smell, the particulates, all that kind of stuff. And especially when you hit it with the blowtorch, right? All right, so we got gloves on. Remember, wear your mask. Do as I say, not as I do. And anyway, you can see in this tarp right here, when I pick the resin up, it ruins part of the tarp. It can only handle it so many times, huh? Of course, I can use the other side. The tarp's quite large, huh? So I'd fold it in different angles. I don't just toss it away the first time I use it. Anyway, boom, put this, excuse me. That was probably horrible, the mic's right there, right? It's not the Rona. Anyway, this was to stir maybe, but I ended up using, all right. So now we're gonna pour it on the piece and I'm gonna use my fingers to really massage it in. That's what I'm trying to do. And then after that, I'll throw the gloves away, I'll grab the blowtorch, I'll hit it. And at that point, we're gonna stop the video. We'll be back tomorrow after it fully dries and we'll see if we corrected the problem. So one quick thing, I didn't use all of it, right? Not because I'm not going to or I can't or something. I just want to see where we're at. And I'm using my hands. Huh? Some people don't use their hands, but I'm wearing gloves, so it's okay. Huh? Do not do this with your bare hands. You know how bad that would be for you? Resin is toxic. Huh? You do it with your bare hands. I mean, it's not just the hospital. You're really screwing yourself. So always be careful. Always be cautious, etc., etc. And so let's get this over all the bits and nooks and crannies. And then we'll figure out how much more we add. Huh? And also, it should be, I'll know in 30 minutes or so how well this did, or if there are parts that are taken away and not being fixed, you know. Like I'm looking right here, I wonder if that's pulling up, huh? But the way we're really gonna know, and again, use it, you don't be afraid, use your fingers. Just get it in there, get in there, baby. And obviously it's all liquid, it's all moving around, and I'm not so worried how much is falling off, whatever. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit it with a little more, because this worries me right here. I see it picking up right there, huh? And maybe, whatever, maybe the reality is it's still gonna have some issues after this. Hopefully we address most of it and it looks really clean, maybe with a spot or two that has an issue. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, because remember, resin is self-leveling, huh? So if I pour this, it doesn't have to exactly be in the center, but I poured around his face, and let's verify it's in the center. Yeah, more or less, huh? So and I don't know how level this is. I could check with the level, and that probably would be the smart thing, because a lot of it did drip off last round. But instead, I'm just gonna hit this like this, and I'm gonna put it in places where it should go out to the sides. And a lot is gonna, this is way more than this thing needs, huh? But the reason I'm doing this is because there's some parts that just, I don't know, huh? And I hope this fixes the issues. If it doesn't, and a couple are left, you know, we could of course do this again. And of course we could hit it, you know, I only hit it with one layer of varnish. I could have hit it with 2 or 3 or whatever. That probably would have been better. I don't have patience. I should take a class on patience. I should start meditating. Anyways, guys. Be better than me, right? Looks great at the moment. I'm gonna take this glove off, throw it away. I'm gonna throw this glove away too. I'm gonna grab the blowtorch and let's hit it, baby. Amazing, huh? I see a couple spots on it already. We're gonna put on another glove, just on one end, huh? Excuse me. All right, at this point, I'm looking for different areas where it looks like it has issues. And the reason I'm leaning to the side is because when light hits it differently, you can see the issues easier. And so what I'm gonna do now, again, it looks like there's certain areas that are still gonna be a problem. It is what it is, huh? And you can keep playing with it, but I think that if those areas remain a problem while you're messing with it, and it comes back again right now after I've already rubbed my fingers on it, put a little more resin, whatever, I think if it is a problem again, it's gonna be a problem no matter how many times you mess with it. So I leave it, I let it dry, finish whatever, and we come back and we figure it out. At this point, I can see that there's an issue here, and if I lean, there's some issues right there. But for the most part, it looks okay at the moment. But again, it took a while before all the issues showed before. I'm gonna hit it with the torch and we'll leave it to dry, right? And the issues that it has tomorrow hopefully are less than it had before, but we'll see. I'm breathing over here. I need to open a door. I'm gonna do it as soon as I stop the video, but the goal, you don't wanna smell this stuff, huh? I should have been wearing a mask. And I'm holding my breath as I'm doing it, huh? Although these vapors, they can go into your eyes too, huh? Anyway, guys, I'm gonna let this dry. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and let's see where we're at. Ah, woo! That was hot. Be careful, yo. Anyway, it looks like there's some issues on this side, right there. Oh, if it just stays with these really super tiny issues right there and right there, I'll be super happy, huh? As long as I got rid of the big parts, yeah, let's see. I'll see you guys tomorrow, huh? Oh, we're back. It's the next day. Oof, my hand, huh? It's the next day. You guys are curious to see how this all turned out, right? So first things first. Boom. Let me show you the back. And the reason is I told you I was trying differently how I cut the tape. Did it make a difference? Not really. I took off the tape this morning when I woke up, and the reason I don't wait till later in the day is because you want it to be harder, you know, not jelly, but harder. But if you wait till it's fully cured, it's much harder to remove the tape. So just a point of reference, there's definitely a lot more resin on the corners. However, there were no resin drips, and that's what the tape's for. So the question you're asking yourself, did it work, huh? Kind of. So let me show you. You'll be the judge of it. I will rotate the piece so the light hits it in different angles, and you decide, huh? So I'm assuming as I was rotating it, you can pick up different issues, right? Because when you look at this dead on, depending on how the light's hitting on, like if I look at this like this, it looks totally fine. It's that when you turn it, for example, when I turn it right here, I can see the differences, right? In fact, yeah, you know, I'm not very happy. It's better than it was, but it's still not where it needs to be. So for example, like in the eyes, a lot of it's a lot better. There's still an issue right there, for example. There's still a little issue right here. There was a bigger issue before, but it's much less. There's still issues down in here, a little bit up here. And then also you can see a little bit when I do like this, let's see. You can see, I don't know if it's the differences in resin, or maybe I should have let that varnish dry overnight because, you know, I'm not very patient. However, it does look better. The fix definitely is what I showed you guys. Definitely, you probably should put 2 coats of varnish. Don't be impatient like myself. And then on top of it, probably I should have sanded more. But, you know, I was afraid because if I sand too much, we could totally ruin the piece. If this video gets enough views and you guys are interested in seeing me sand this piece further, let's see if we could fix it in its entirety. I'm willing to risk the piece if enough of you guys are interested in seeing it. Let me know in the comments. I hope you guys found this video useful, helpful, etc. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Share the video with your friends, guys. It would mean the world to me. Anyways, until next time, I'm out.